death has never prevented me from resuming my sacred task. I've seen the future. It will take the shape I've predicted, and sooner rather than later, we stand on the very threshold.
Hello, my name is Kate and I'm gonna tell you about the Lich, which drove all the dragons mad in D&D. Sammaster was a very powerful human mage and a former chosen of Mystra. He found the Cult of the Dragon and discovered the way to turn dragons into dracoliches. He even fought the avatar of Lathander, but was killed and later transformed into powerful Lich and caught the attention of Tiamat. He can be met in 3rd editions of D&D, however his legacy lives ever since, as players can encounter Cult of the Dragon in lots of adventures and modern models. But how did he become like that? Let's figure it out. In the year 800, Sammaster was born as the only child in his family. Little is known about his parents as well as where he was born. Some presume it was in Sembia, the Dalelands or the North, as most of the future records come from these areas. Lots of rumors have spoken around Sammaster's childhood. Some believe that his parents were killed under unknown circumstances, and that influenced the psyche of the young boy, who never experienced the true parental love. After his parents' death, Sammaster was taken by his relatives. However, being a probably unwanted and unexpected burden, his life was not happy there, stripped of all family perks. Probably like Harry Potter, living with his family who doesn't want him and waiting for a moment and a chance to live this nightmare. We don't know, but my guess would be that the relationship of his family was quite abusive to the young Sammaster, and that influenced his behavior in the future greatly. After 17 years, in 817, Sammaster left his home and never returned to it. By this age, Sammaster was a tall, nice-looking man with dark, long, straight brown hair. Though the boy couldn't boast his healthy constitution, he was often ill, sneezed and coughed a lot, and had to rely on herbs to stop the bouts. With no cause in life, he walked to the closest city to find his fortune there. However, meets a traveling mage Mnathas halfway. They have spent a bit of time together on the road before Mnathas took Sammaster as his young apprentice. The wizard was fascinated with the boy's intelligence and eagerness to study the art. The mage noted in his diary that Sammaster was nervous, experienced trembling fits, always easily agitated, which occasionally grew to rage when denied or frustrated. After 1 year, in 818, when Sammaster hit 18 years old, Mnathas showed him the ways of Mystra, and Sammaster took her in his heart, starting to study magic even more extensively for the next 8 years. The time passed, and Sammaster left his mentor to forge his own path in the world. His traveling routes are unknown, but he sought other mentors to learn additional spells and secrets of the art. Due to his handsomeness and chaotic behavior, it is said that he left quite a lot of offspring while traveling. Only through extensive training and studying he could achieve that rarely anyone could. At the age of 35 he became an archmage, and this was quite an achievement. For the next 16 years he worked and enhanced many old spells such as low resistance and work on enchantments. During this period, Sammaster acquired the Ring of Protection, the Ring of Free Action and Boots of Striding in his possession. Soliloquies again, dearest of all mortals. Are you feeling lonely?
No, lady mine, just a little sad. I'm not stupid enough to avoid looking ahead. It will not end well for this one.
You are right, wisest of my chosen. And being so, you know what you must do.
I see why this blade I'm forging is necessary, but I mislike tempering it so well. The results will be hard on many in the years ahead.
In 851, while traveling to Dalelands, the goddess Mystra appeared to Sammaster and offered to make him one of her chosen, as she was preparing a replacement for Silune, who would soon perish. Sammaster gladly accepted the offer. He spent 10 days with Mystra learning from her, but being stripped of any family time and care, he mistook Mystra's attention for a true love. In order to master all aspects of magic, Mystra guided Sammaster to work with Elminster, who was to teach him the art. He met with the old mage to understand silverify powers and spent 3 next years studying. On one day of his travels between Cormyr and Dalelands, he encountered Zant caravan with caged slaves. The vision of it drove Sammaster into a holy rage, and he used his silver fire to melt down all the opponents not caring for collateral damage to the captives. After cooling off and seeing what he had done, he couldn't cope with it and fainted, only to be carried away by harpers nearby. They took care of him, gave him food and shelter until Sammaster recovered. The word about bloodbaths reached Elminster and other chosen, however they ignored it. And I'd like to stop for a bit at this moment, as I think if Elminster hadn't ignored it and helped dismorale Sammaster, things would have turned differently. In fact, I think that psionic magics would have become a great tool for psychologists in Faerun, because I don't think that all of the adventurers feeling pretty well after seeing all these demons, blood and gore, and this would be a great downtime activity for psionic casters. Tell me in the comments below, what do you think about it? Driven by his grief, guilt and nightmares, Sammaster deep dived into necromancy and learned everything possible about spells connected with reanimation. He spent almost 6 years from 855 to 861 researching the processes of life, death and undeath. In 861, after ending his research, Sammaster once again began traveling Faerun. On his travels, he met and began a relationship with Alastriel Silverhand, a chosen of Mystra in Silveremon. Sammaster wanted to uncover all secrets of the Silver Fire and the arts through her, like he did with his other mentors. He showed her his necromancy research, and this continuously pushed her back until their relationship ended in 865. Firstly burned by Mystra's false signs, and then rejected by the Alastriel, Sammaster's emotional well-being was permanently damaged, drawing him to the dark path. Full of hatred and gloomy thoughts, Sammaster left Silvermoon the same day and traveled to Baldur's Gate, where he met Algashon Nathair, the priest of Bane. For the next 10 years, two traveled together, and Algashon poisoned the mad mind of Sammaster, driving him to the evil. Algashon wanted to become a chosen of Bane, and for that, he needed to steal the silver flame from the chosen of Mystra. Through years of traveling, Algashon saw a potential in Sammaster to become a tyrant. So instead of killing him and stealing the silver flame, he decided to manipulate him. By 875, Algashon had convinced Sammaster to attack his former lover, Alastriel, in the Evermoors. The pair ambushed Alastriel and she was wounded. However, she managed to summon two more chosen, Helbian Aronson and Laeral Silverhand, to her help. Sammaster was defeated. Enraged, Mystra stripped him of his chosen powers and nearly disintegrated him. However, thanks to the possession of leftover regenerative abilities of the chosen, Sammaster survived, and Algashon helped him to recover. The battle and loss of chosen powers destroyed what was left of Sammaster's sanity, and from that point on, he fully embraced evil. From that moment, he started to translate the ancient prophecies and manuscripts to search for power in them. And in 887, he translated Magla's Chronicle of Years to Come and invented the Scaly Way, which said that dracoliches should rule the world. A tiny misinterpretation of text set the madman to the dark, ambitious path. Later, Elminster also looked at these manuscripts. Elminster translated it as, "And naught will be left save shattered thrones, with no rulers but the dead. Dragons shall rule the world entire." However, Sammaster misinterpreted it as, "And naught will be left save shattered thrones with no rulers, but the dead dragons shall rule the world entire." For several years of translation and research in the Undead, Sammaster formed followers around him and set a base in Saarlun. In the 902, he traveled to the Red Dragon Lair in the mountains near the headwaters of the Immerflow in the Thunder Peaks. He convinced Shangri-La to undergo dracolich transformation. The success in transforming the dragon into dracolich brought wealth and power to Sammaster. He started to threaten nearby territories with the dracolich to pay him tribute. Shangri-La kept all the scales and dragon look when doing the bidding of the archmage. And when common folk saw the dragon roaming the area, they named fanatics Cult of the Dragon, and since then this name stuck to Sammaster and his band. By 905, Sammaster finished his principal work on the Tome of the Dragon, and copies started appearing all over Faerun. It was at this time that the name Cult of the Dragon became widely adopted. In a few years, Cult branched to other cities such as Selgond and Ion. To support the growth, Sammaster traveled to Tranquil Tower near Lake Sambir and persuaded another red dragon, Rauglothgor, to undergo dracolich transformation. The cult began to spread from Faerun and soon attracted enemies such as Harpers. When they demanded protection money for Zend caravans, they made enemies of Zentil Keep, and the dracolich Shargrylar began to raid Zend caravans between Shadow Gap and the River Tash. With Sammaster becoming more reckless, Algashon decided to betray his partner in order to save the cult's future from a growing number of foes. In 916, Sammaster traveled from Saarlund to Selgon through Ordalin to Green Dragons in order to offer them dracolichdom. He traveled with his own followers and abominations he created through his experiments to understand dragons' nature, such as Mantidrake, Dracohydras, Drasimeres, and Wyvern Drakes. However, the archmage was ambushed by the Harpers, followers of Lathander, nature deities, and other allies near village Hap. Sammaster was stronger, but priests of Lathander called for divine intervention, and Lathander answered their call and sent down his avatar to help in battle. He disintegrated all the undead in one flash and killed all dracoliches who supported Archmage too. Though Sammaster managed to wound the avatar and it bled 4 drops of blood, which later created a legendary sacred artifact for the Church of Lathander. After Sammaster's downfall, Algashon took a lead of the Cult of the Dragon and drove its operations underground for the first time since its creation in the prior century and moved it to the Elmasphere. However, Sammaster hadn't died. Being paranoid that he would be stripped of all powers or regenerative abilities of being Mistress Chosen, he prepared lots of contingency spells that would help him to transfer his soul to a hidden phylactery in Afterlife and help him to become a Lich. 336 years later, in 1282, Sammaster reincarnated in the Desert Mouse Mountains. The Lich began forming an army from humanoids, undead, and dracoliches under his command. After 3 years of amassing an army, in 1285, an adventuring group of paladins known as the Company of 12 attacked Sammaster's stronghold in Harrow's Mouse. 9 were killed, but the Lich's physical form was destroyed. However, the Tome of the Dragon and phylactery of the Lich survived. The Lich returned once again in 60 years in late 1345, thanks to the magic of his phylactery, but he saw no point in resuming control of the cult. Disappointed in the current state of the organization with low number of followers and low number of dracoliches, he started to search for alternative ways to achieve his vision. Meanwhile, in the city of Anter, in the year of the Bloodbird in 1346, after centuries of silence from the Dragon Queen, the few remaining followers of the Nemesis of the Gods successfully summoned an aspect of Tiamat known as a Dark Lady. The Dragon Queen turned her interest to Sammaster's studies in which she saw potential. Through subtle hints and divinely inspired bursts of intuition, Tiamat helped Sammaster rediscover the secrets of the Dracorage mythal without revealing herself to him. With this guidance, Sammaster discovered the existence of the Dracorage mythal and its secrets. As Tiamat had hoped, he set about harnessing the power of the Dracorage for his own ends. Almost 30 years later, in 1373, Sammaster managed to corrupt the Dracorage mythal, binding his phylactery to the chamber that served as a capstone of the ancient artifact. Now, the mythal affects were no longer constrained by the appearance of the Kingkiller star comet, which usually signaled the start of the Rage of the Dragons, but linked instead to Lich's own life force. The plan was perfect, as only dracoliches would be unaffected by the endless, ever-intensifying Dracorage, while worms of every species had to decide whether they are joining the Cult of the Dragon and accept the transformation, or they are suffering permanent madness. The Lich then set about reasserting his control over individual Cult of the Dragon cells across Faerun. From the Isle of Ten in the Pirate Isles to Dragonback Mountains, Peak of the Riders to the Sky Mountains, cult members transformed their secret stronghold into laboratories in which dragons could be transformed into dracoliches in a short period of time. Sometime later, the Cult of the Dragon's stronghold in the Grey Forest had fallen to the enemies of Sammaster, who wanted to end the Dracorage. Learning of it, Sammaster decided to create chaos in Damara in order to nullify any chances of finding the Dracorage mythal that he had adapted to his own purposes. He pretended to be the Lich and raised an army in Vaasa. The army took the Bloodstone Gates and flooded into Damara. The monstrous horde, assisted by the red dragon Malazan, conquered the castle called the Vaasan Gate and went to Bloodstone Pass to attack the Damaran Gate before any warning could reach its defenders. In addition, Sammaster ordered Malazan and a large flight of Hermetic dragons to destroy the Monastery of the Yellow Rose, where manuscripts were kept, so nobody would find any hint on the mythal location. He also struck a bargain with Ice Queen Lyraclea. In return for killing any strangers who ventured onto the Great Glacier, Lyraclea was given temporary command of the White Dracolich Zesrindor. After some time, the adventurers found the well-hidden Dracorage mythal and destroyed Lich's phylactery, ending the rage and killing Sammaster as well. Is he a strong character? From the lore perspective, he's a bit unstable as a human. His emotions are his weakness. However, he's an archmage, and he possesses lots of strong allies and dracoliches, while madness makes him unpredictable. From the technical perspective, I found his stats in Cult of the Dragon book, but it's before his transformation to a Lich. There, he's a necromancer of level 26 with 6-9 spell slots and bonus necromantic spells. Through his lifetime, he accumulated lots of magical artifacts such as Staff of Power, Staff of Archmage and Robe of Archmage, and also, given he's a Lich, brings him certain immunities and benefits of being undead, so yes, he's quite a formidable foe. And now a bit of DM tips on how to play it. If you are playing Sammaster, try to use undead and other dragon abominations to attack the party. Secondly, if there are female casters in the party that resemble Mystra or Alastriel, target them, as those would definitely remind Sammaster of his emotional wounds. Lastly, you can create a dracolich as a mini-boss to support the battle. That's all for Sammaster, and we will probably never see him again as he and his phylactery was destroyed. And if you like the lore, please press like and subscribe button and tell me in the comments below who else you would like to hear about. And see you next time.